They've already interviewed Brian Dable and Joe Brady and Lou Anarumo there, defensive coordinator, formerly of the Bengals and most recently with the Indianapolis Colts. And we got Geoff Hobson to talk about this with us. He covers the Bengals and had to have some experience with Lou Anarumo. Jeff, good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. I knew if we were going to talk Anarumo, I could call Indy, but I thought I'd call you because he spent a lot of time there as defensive coordinator in Cincinnati.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Always great to be in the city of Jerry Sullivan, Phil Fairbanks, Bud Angelo, and Bud Bailey, great Buffalo journalists. And Lou Anarumo, great fit for Buffalo, big Yankees fan.
Oh, yeah?
He talked about busting chops, did that several times with some of our Yankee Red Sox conversations. Lou's he's a good man, and he's a hell of a coach, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Bills decide to go with another defensive guy or not.
Yeah, he's never been a head coach. You know, it's Jeff, this hiring cycle for the Bills, there's a lot of guys that have not been coaches before. You know, the hot coordinator, there's a trend for hot young offensive coordinator, and Anarumo is a veteran guy, older, he's 59, and a defensive guy. What about his time there in Cincinnati? Because I think from afar, we watched the Bengals defense fall apart. He got fired. It got worse. Was he scapegoated? Was he just it was time for a new voice? What happened near the end of Anarumo's time in Cincinnati?
Well, I think probably what he was here, I believe, 6-7 years, which is a long time for a coordinator. I think you got to look back at what he did. He built the defense. He built the Super Bowl defense, and that stuff's hard to sustain when you've got a great offense, and you got to pay people on offense, and you've got to make some adjustments. I think what happened at the end, you guys are going through that now. There's about 83 reasons, okay, and your head probably hurts when you try to sort it all out. He took some blame, but there was enough blame to go around. So, Lou's not the first guy to get fired. It doesn't mean he's a bad coach. But I think if you look at what he built in, Cincinnati, I think, the qualities, the traits he showed, that he'd be an excellent head coach. He communicates with players, he gets along with them, and he knows how to use them.
Is one of the top things he showed while he was there just strictly what he did when he played head-to-head with Kansas City, especially the AFC Championship game they won?
Not only that, but look what they did to Allen. In Buffalo the week before, they lost the game in Kansas City. I don't think Mahomes ever got more than 2 touchdowns against them, but Josh struggled against them too. So he made his bones against these great offenses. He shut down San Francisco when San Francisco was riding high in 23. I think what he showed against Kansas City and Mahomes was, his philosophy of, you've got to, and it's nothing new. It's what everybody in the league is doing, but Lou did it so well, of interchanging players. Edge guys would drop. He can kick guys inside. His safeties could be corners. Very interchangeable stuff. And, I think that showed his ability, I think, kind of to see the game, from a large, from both 10,000 feet and from the techniques.
Geoff Hobson of Bengals.com on Lou Anarumo. The style of defense you mentioned there, is it about confusion? Is it about disguise? Is it blitz heavy? Understanding that a lot of these defensive coordinators might change year to year based on the talent that they have, but what was the calling card of that defense for him?
I think it was different looks. It was, they could have a guy. He could have a guy doing the lining up, but doing a different job. Doing a different job than he did maybe the previous snap. I think if you go back and you look at the big. You go back and you look at the big pick in the AFC Championship game that the Bengals won in overtime, and they got a big turnover on the first series of overtime to go in and get the winning field goal, and that was, I think Mahomes was a little bit befuddled perhaps by what was going on back there when he tried to go deep. And I think it's that's where the interchangeability comes in, and you can kind of keep guys guessing. And I think that was a big strength of Lou's.
In terms of how we talked about how it ended a little bit there, has he ever struck you as the type of guy that would do well as a head coach? I mean, if he got this job, feels like there's not a ton of downside when Allen's your quarterback. I mean, it's about the playoffs. So I don't know. Have you ever what have you thought about like what he would do in that position?
Well, I think he's done well in big games. It's nothing new to him, and he's performed well in them. I think, again, his relationship with players is terrific. I think, I think he's got an eye for good coaches. He grabbed a cornerback, just from watching Senior Bowl practices and watching the way that our cornerbacks coach works, Charles Burks, who's been really, under Burks' tutelage, they've, he's developed DJ Turner, who should have been a Pro Bowler this year. Dax Hill is one of the emerging corners. So I think that, he's got an eye for, I think he'd have a good eye for forming a staff. And he knows what it's like to have he knows exactly what it's like to be in an organization where the quarterback is the face of the franchise and everything runs through the quarterback. And I think watching how Zach Taylor, and I think that's Zach Taylor's big calling card, is he's got a great ear for the room. Really has a great sense for the modern player, and I think that's a feather in Lou's cap too. He's older, but he has grown. He kind of grew up a little bit under the McVay Taylor, program that is really player friendly. So I think he checks a lot of boxes.
It sounds like you're saying like he's an old dog that did learn the new tricks.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's seen everything. You've been in the league for, he's coming up on 14, 15 years, so there isn't anything he hasn't seen. And and anybody you talk to, they'll tell you really what a strong secondary coach he is. And, you go back, that's been a big thing too, right? The greatest coaches, right, have started in the back end of the defense. I mean, so I think that's, I think he's got a lot going for him, whether they want to go, defensively. But I think it's a good fit because, like I said, he's been through a Cincinnati kind of style of deal with the quarterback, with everything running through the quarterback.
Geoff Hobson, Bengals.com. Last thing, Jeff, how about Zach Taylor and the Bengals? Only team in that division currently with a coach. I mean, it's kind of wild, right? Like Harbaugh, Tomlin.
Minter's hires it.
Minter just got hired. You're right.
But he's the only one
that stayed. Like, what's the story of this offseason going to be for Cincinnati?
I think it's they can't start looking around and saying, we got an edge in the division because we're the only returning, coaching staff. I mean, it just does. That stuff doesn't matter in the AFC North. I mean, the AFC North kind of confounds, logic, because things that win games are almost, it just doesn't translate to paper. So I think, I don't think it's any. I mean, you don't have to be Paul Brown to tell you what they got to do. And what they have said. Duke Tobin, their director of player personnel, came out and said it. We got to get better on defense. We need pass rushers, and they're going to do it in free agency, and they're going to do it in the draft. And they got everybody coming back on an offense that seems to score no matter who the quarterback is. You can bring in a quarterback like they did with Flacco, and in 9 days he plays 2 games. He's been in the building 9 days, plays 2 games, and they score. They score about almost 60 points. So once Burrow is healthy, up and going, they're as good as anybody. I mean, just take the defense, and I think they think that Al Golden, with his second year in, and the improvements that they're going to make, they get that defense. I said this last year. They get that defense to 18, 17, 16 with Burrow, and they're back in the AFC Championship game. I mean, everybody talks about Harbaugh and Tomlin. Zach quietly, got to twice as many AFC Championship games as they did since he's been in the league. I mean, He's been twice. Could have won another one. He lost. He went to one Super Bowl. Could have been in another one. Went into the last 30 seconds. So and meanwhile, those two guys, great coaches, but in the last 6-7 years, they hadn't accomplished what the Bengals had done.
Yeah, Geoff Hobson on the Western Hotline. Geoff, thanks very much for the time.
Thanks for taking the call, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
All right, sounds good. Geoff Hobson on the Bengals and on Lou Anarumo, who the Bills interviewed. We have a bit of a source-off. Ian Rappaport said the Bills interviews are going to be in L.A. Schefter says Florida. I don't know who to believe.
They've been sparring a little bit lately, those two.
They're all going to be in Florida.
What was the report? Schefter said something that Rappaport said was completely untrue.
It was about Harbaugh losing the locker room.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.